This video is about failure, like when you wake up early to make breakfast for your family, but they hate your cooking and they end up going to Pancake Parlour anyways. So here's the thing, the title of the video, Why Failure is Bad, is essentially clickbait. I wouldn't necessarily say that failure in and of itself is good or bad, it's just a thing. Failure, I believe, is something that should be embraced. It's unavoidable. When you do bad, you fail, and obviously it's not nice. But when you do good, when you win, when you succeed, you also fail. Let me explain. This is what I wanted to talk about, the value of failure and how it's an inevitable part of living. Moreover, I wanted to offer my own experiences of failure and how I approach failure in a constructive way. Example, look at your own life. Have you failed recently? Have you failed in the past and that failure has consistently haunted you? Like, have you ever said something dumb to a cashier? We can think about it in terms of this known knowns matrix. Firstly, there are instances where we fail and we know that we have failed or we are going to fail. An example of this is like when you're trying to lose weight, but by the end of the day you found yourself halfway deep into a packet of cookies, even though you shouldn't be doing that. You know you shouldn't be doing that, but you just keep eating them. There are instances where we fail and we're unsure of whether we're going to fail or not, or whether we may succeed. An example of this would be when you turn in a final assignment for a class and you're unsure whether the result could be good or it could be bad. Conversely, there are instances where we think we're winning, or at the very least that we're not failing, but which may actually manifest as failures. Like when you spend time with a group of friends only to realize that they're not having a positive effect on your life. We can categorize the wasted time as a failure. Then there are failures that we don't understand completely, but we acknowledge them to be failures. Like when you don't get a certain amount of likes on a Facebook, Instagram post as you would have hoped. You're unsure why, you're not sure whether but anyways, it's a failure and the reason isn't apparent. As you can tell, there are many different types of failures and failures happening around us. But on the opposite side of the spectrum are successes, which we can think of and categorize in the same way as failures. As a part of life, you can't live without failing, but you can also not live without succeeding. I would encourage everyone to embrace this idea of failing as one, a part of everyday life, and two, equivalent to success. Now, I say equivalent to success because I think that failure can very easily be viewed as an opportunity to do better. And it sounds harsh, but being labeled as a failure is a positive thing because people recognize that there are so many more improvements that can be made to you or your way of living. So if you're an unfit, dirty, lazy, unattractive failure, you now have the opportunity to improve your exercise regime or even implement one in the first place, improve your personal hygiene, improve your routine, improve your social skills, etc. Of course, everyone wants to win and people are always finding new ways to win in whatever they are trying to do, but throughout this process we fail. We then constantly revise and refine the way we live in order to reduce or mitigate these failures. In my own example, I've been doing hip-hop music for roughly a year and a half now, and if I look back on the level I was working a year ago, I think from a present perspective I could say that I wasn't succeeding, I was failing. My music wasn't sounding right, it was difficult to structure songs, I didn't know how to edit songs, I didn't even know what I had to learn so I could progress at first. But I was persistent, even though today I still fail every day when I work, but occasionally I succeed. And this is a lot more rewarding considering that only a small minority of what I actually do is immediately successful. Failure helps you realize what you are capable of. Knowing these limits, you can push yourself to work a lot harder. And again, I'll use the word a lot. it's all relative. The bigger the failure, the bigger the subsequent or following success. And as we've heard, a million times, the successful receive more success. People who fail will fail more and more. So I would say that it's in your best interest to try and do better at least. And again, to reiterate, failure is good because it presents you with the opportunity to do better than you had done previously. To put the two-step method into place, in short, moving beyond failure starts with 1, the belief that you can overcome failure. Even if your belief is irrational, don't listen to yourself. I believe one day I'll have a successful career where I'm in the position to help other people with their own goals. I have no idea how this will happen, but I know it will. But belief is obviously pointless without 2, action. And again, the irrationality that I mentioned before comes into play here. A lot of what you do in life will seem pointless. What you have to do is push through this pointlessness and adjust your aim as you progress. Many get discouraged by the feeling that you're not going anywhere in life. And again, going back to irrational action, don't think, just do something. Anything. Obviously the two-step method is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. It can be hard. You have a lot of things to break from in order to implement it. Like the market, life will fluctuate up and down. In order to progress, one must acknowledge that these fluctuations are a necessary part in progression and as a part of life. I always like to remind myself that people have made it through worse things than what I'm going through at the moment, and failure in and of itself is a temporary state. You'll always move beyond failure, and while you're here, you might as well embrace failure for what it is, something we experience every day rather than a smack in the teeth.